Welcome to DAO Deep Dives, where we interview DAO founders, core DAO contributors, and everyone else who works on the periphery of decentralized autonomous organizations.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you listen to us from for this episode. Today, super excited to have Arda as our guest. Arda is the founder of ACE DAO and Bonfire, two very interesting projects which we'll dive into today. So super excited to have you, Arda. What's going on? How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks for inviting me. Pleasure being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, welcome Solve, my trusted co-host.
Hello. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, we have a very packed episode today, I think. The puns just keep coming here. Let's dive right into it. So before we get into the technicalities of the projects you're working on, Arda, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? How did you get to where you are in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Arda. I'm based in Toronto. I moved here in 2016 from Turkey, and I studied here. I studied machine learning and data science. And during my third year, I co-founded my first company, Roll Scooters. It's a shared scooter company. We operated in a bunch of cities in Canada. And then last year in 2022, I moved on to Web3, but I had been in the space for a while. I personally invested in Bitcoin when I was in high school. And then I lost pretty much all my returns, all my investments in altcoins later in 2017, 2018. And then when I started studying, I did some more research in terms of the technology behind it. And I explored some DeFi companies. And last year, I explored some DAOs through friends and through some Discord channels. And it made me really interested because it's a whole new kind of innovative governance structure, right? Like it gives more power to their investors, to their customers. So I really like that concept. And we started building a marketplace, a DAO marketplace where you can find new DAOs, explore them, and manage your portfolio in one central platform. But we realized that monetizing consumer-facing products in Web3 is a little bit challenging. So we pivoted into B2B. Web3 organizations use a lot of different tools, right? Discord, Notion, Telegram, and there's a bunch of other myriad of tools. And information is scattered across all these different platforms, which makes it difficult for contributors and members to get access to information when they need it. So we are building we aggregate all these different sources and provide an easy to use search bar where you can search things like summarize the meeting notes from last town hall, who is an expert in NFTs in our community, summarize a recent proposal and the discussion. So pretty much you can ask anything. And it's a B2B tool. We have been working with some companies like Gitcoin, Push Protocol, Kraushaus DAO, and some other organizations. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Very cool. I think Crosshouse comes up like the most on our show, like every episode, I think, so far. So
Really?
yeah, it's cool. Maybe we were just in that immediate network. So that's fascinating. One of the questions that we ask all of our guests is to just explain what a DAO is in their own terms.
Good question. So when I actually need to explain what a DAO is to a Web2 person or someone who doesn't know about blockchain, this is how I explain it. As a decentralized autonomous organization, decentralization comes from the fact that it's on a block and all the decisions are being made by the community. And the autonomy is coming from the fact that there's no central authority, right? There's no CEO, there's no board. So people make the decisions. So that's where that autonomy comes from. And I actually make an analogy like it's similar to a public company. They have their own shares, which are cryptocurrencies, governance tokens. And when you purchase their shares, their governance token, you have a power in terms of you can put on proposals, you can suggest something, you can vote on other proposals. And that's how the company is being managed. I really like it because most of the time, those investors are actually their customers. They propose things that they want to see. Like it's a startup structure where you ask your customers, in this case, it's investors, you ask them what are the main pain points, right? In this DAO structure, those people actually give those suggestions directly and they manage the whole company. So I really like that democratic approach. Yeah, so that's how I explain to non-Web3 people.
So you touched on Bonfire a little bit already, gave us an overview. Dive a little more into that. Where did Bonfire come from and where is it at right now? And what does it do? Why does Bonfire need to exist, I guess?
Yeah, so I have first-hand experience managing a DAO, right? We're also going to talk about ACE DAO. But we realized some of the problems in the space, such as for example, in a Discord community, you don't know other people. There's usually an intro channel, but you don't really look at that channel, right? And I think you were in that call, but I'm not sure. During a Constellation DAO town hall, there was a concern about this specific example. People don't know the other people. Maybe you need like a support with a specific thing, maybe NFTs or investment, and you don't know who to reach out to. And imagine having one search bar where you can search things like who is an expert in XYZ, such as NFTs, such as real estate, and you get the exact answer and you can just contact them directly. So this was a one spark when we thought, okay, this is legit, this is a problem. And I also heard this from other DAOs, other communities as well. And that's how we started. We also had similar problems at ACE DAO, especially managing Discord community, and you can't really keep up with what's happening in the Discord. There's conversations, there's also a bunch of irrelevant comments, some noise there too. So we just wanted to make it simpler for people to get updated with what's going on in the community, with the DAO itself as well. And we started talking to other people, and they told us some other pain points, such as for proposal discussions, sometimes there's like hundreds of them, right? You don't want to read them all. This is difficult for contributors to understand what's the sentiment. It's also difficult for members to vote. So when you want to vote, you want to look at all the other people's comments and try to understand what are the main concerns. But it's difficult. You don't want to spend a lot of time. And this was one of the main concerns of Gitcoin. There's also other DAOs that also pointed this out. And we decided to summarize proposals and summaries. Now it's a really structured summary of, you can see what are the main concerns, overall sentiment, the things that the community is supportive of. And in terms of proposals, sometimes it's too technical, it's too long, you don't want to read them all. So you can see a short summary of what that proposal is about, what is the proposed pieces. Yeah, it's just making our lives easier as contributors, as members. So that's how we started.
Would you say and I hope this is not offending the project, but would you say a contextualized ChatGPT would be a good description of what it is?
It's a customized ChatGPT. We're actually using OpenAI APIs, so we're using their large language models. But with ChatGPT, you can't really put all the Discord conversations, right? Or all the documents. You can't really combine them unless you do hundreds of different messages and like feeding that information. So that's where we come in. We combine all this data in just one search bar, and it's really easy and convenient for people to search things through that search bar. But yeah, we're using OpenAI API, so I think that wouldn't be a wrong analogy.
I think most people now, our listeners, I would imagine, have certainly heard of ChatGPT and probably played with it, right? I use it actually to help me think of questions for these episodes, right? So what happens if I ask your search bar something that isn't actually related to the DAO?
We only provide information based on the context that we are providing to our AI model. So if you ask something that is not included in any of the data sources that we're feeding in, then it's going to say, I don't know this answer, or something else. So it won't give you the answer. So that's actually another difference between ChatGPT and our product. It would be cool to get answer to any questions, right? Like just like ChatGPT. But if we do that, then we can't really guarantee the accuracy of that information. So it's not connected to internet right now. But in the future, we also want to connect it to possibly information from other DAOs. So it can actually look at, for example, a proposal from another DAO, and it can tell you what would be the impact of this proposal if you vote yes or no, based on another DAO proposal and the consequences and how that resolved. So it would be cool to integrate all these different data in one source. But right now, just to make sure that we have 100% accuracy, we're not using any other sources, only using the data that we're feeding into our AI model.
So would you say Bonfire is contributing to the field of AI in blockchain and the intersection thereof of DAOs as well? And if so, maybe share some insights into how you're doing that, or what do you think that looks like in the near future?
Absolutely. I'm a huge AI guy. I've been passionate about this industry for a really long time. That's why I studied machine learning and data science in university. We are positioning ourselves at the intersection of AI and Web3. We don't really like to be called a DAO tool. First of all, there is a big concern from investors, and they're saying me DAO market is not huge right now. Like there's that concern, which I understand. We also explored some different use cases with protocols, other Web3 companies, not necessarily DAOs. For example, we also feed some API documentations, technical documentations. A protocol can use it for their developers, where developers can ask questions and they get the answer directly without looking at all the documentation. So there's this one cool use case. There's also customer support element as well. For gaming industry, for example, you might have a lot of questions while you play. You can just directly type in something and you will get the answer directly. We are also exploring some collaboration with NFT marketplaces, where you're looking at a collection, but you want to get more information about that community, right? So instead of going to Google, typing your question, you would be able to just ask something and you would be able to get that answer directly about that community or the collection. There are some really cool use cases outside of the DAO landscape, but so far I feel like we cracked the code in terms of when I talk to a DAO and when I explain them about all these different use cases, they really like it. I wouldn't want to say we found our product market fit because it's a really strong word, but I think we're in that path for DAOs. There are a lot of different use cases that we're exploring with non-DAOs as well. But going back to the AI piece, there are a lot of opportunities in Web3 utilizing AI. AI has been there, like in Web2, for the last few years. Like it's not a new thing. We have seen a lot of different applications using AI and like productivity tools, other consumer-facing tools. So it's been there for a while. But right now with the OpenAI, like GPT-4, these are really strong language models. So that's why we have been seeing more projects recently, because it's more powerful. You can do much more things, more reliable, faster. And then from the Web3 standpoint, we haven't seen a lot of projects in like using AI in Web3, and there's a lot of use cases. So we're just starting with a few use cases, and we're also hoping to have more use cases in the future, such as in the governance space. Imagine delegating an AI wallet that will vote on your behalf. So you don't need to worry about proposals, and this is one of the main concerns, right? Governance participation. There are a lot of opportunities, I think.
That is massive. So yeah, that's one of the major issues I think with DAOs, people just showing up and actually contributing, right? Being part of the vote. This has been an issue for a long time in democratic situations. So I can see that being a big help. Immediately, that's something I would use personally, right? All right, train this AI model. This is how I'm typically voting. These are the types of things that I find important. Vote for me, right? and then let me know, maybe prior to you actually voting, just send me a notification like, hey, I'm voting on this. And if I don't respond in a certain amount of time, you just go ahead and vote for me. Otherwise, I'll veto if I find it important.
Yeah, like a personalized little AI bot, right, in your pocket, which gets to know you. You tell it generally what to do, and then maybe it checks, right, until you are sure it makes decisions like you would have made with you. But it auto summarizes the proposal and says, here's what I would do. Yes or no. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
And with the blockchain technology, everything is transparent. So we can actually analyze your wallet and see all the previous transactions, previous votes, to understand your risk preferences. So it will be actually customized. It's not going to just look at some other data points. It will be also customized to your own personal preferences, your personal risk tolerance. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. I really think that there's tons of use cases with AI, specifically in the governance space.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I'd rather give you $50 for that than I give to my Northwestern Mutual guy or something, which they literally do nothing. Like every month, I give them $50 for that. What for?
Yeah, on-chain decision-making and on-chain analysis of the historical decision-making from the individual. That's just huge. So here's pitch time. What is ACE DAO? This is a two-part question, actually. What is ACE DAO? Second part, why did you start it?
We started ACE DAO as a social DAO. We were having these small meetups, sometimes 50 people, 20 people, and we were seeing new people every time. And we decided to create a DAO because we were all in kind of Web3 and we wanted to do something interesting in a more modern way. And we said, okay, let's do a social DAO. And we hosted a bunch of events in Toronto. networking events, Web3 networking night, Christmas party, pitch competitions, and a lot of different events. We had over 1,000 people who attended all these events. And we also met a lot of talented people, talented founders in our community. We also brought the community together, investors, founders, industry people together. So a lot of people said, this is really valuable. They've met a lot of people. And usually, like in the community in Toronto, it's not that big. Like startup community, Web3 community, you pretty much see similar faces every time. But someone needs to do the work to bring them together, right, with these events. And that's how we started. And as we did more events, we were thinking of, okay, we don't have a product. So far, we have been doing a lot of good things, bringing people together, but we don't have a product. Let's think about some creative ways, right? And during these like processes, we realized that we have a lot of good projects in the community, and we decided to just provide some capital to those companies. And the best way to do is through an investment DAO. And we started doing a lot of research in terms of how to create an investment DAO, all those legal aspects. We're still in the early stages of a DAO structure, right? So it wasn't really easy to decide on all the legal pieces, governance framework, all those stuff ready. Right now, we're looking at some technological solutions that's gonna be able to help us move to the next stage. And we're planning to host a launch event, hopefully in the next few months. But yeah, so far there have been a lot of interest from companies, from investors as well. And yeah, we're really excited.
My next question would have been, what type of DAO is ACE DAO, which you just answered. It started as a social DAO, is morphing into an investment DAO. But give us some insight into how that's been from the perspective of moving the mission, the vision, right? Like what this DAO is about. Now, you touched on legal stuff, and if you want to go into depth there too, feel free. But what challenges have you seen going towards an investment DAO coming from a pure kind of social approach?
Yeah, before we pivoted into an investment DAO, we talked to our community members, asked them what would be their perception, what would they think about us being an investment DAO, and we asked them if they're interested in contributing, whether a financial contribution, being an LP or in any other way. And the feedback we got from our community was really positive. A lot of the people that we talked to, they're interested in contributing, and we thought that, okay, this is a good time. Let's work on legal pieces and other governance framework, all those pieces. And it wasn't easy. In terms of legal stuff, it's so messy. We had to talk to a lot of different lawyers to make sure that we have like up-to-date information and we have the best kind of model that we can play around with. And so it took a while. It took a few months, honestly. And now we're at the stage where we are testing out different platforms in terms of the technology to make sure that we're giving trust to the LPs, because it's no blockchain and we need to make sure that the code that we're using, the platform that we're using is audited. And in terms of the technological flexibility, we should have some of the flexibilities. We are planning to do an evergreen model. It's an open-ended fund, so there won't be an investment period like a traditional fund. So we wanted to have all these flexibilities in our technological solution. Yeah, that's been going well as well. We haven't really finalized the technology, like the software, but that will be done really soon as well. But yeah, overall, it wasn't easy. Again, it took a lot of time, a lot of coffees and meetings, but we are finally ready.
Amazing. I already see a million more questions, and you started talking about the fund structure a little bit, right? So I think reading through the materials you guys have online on your Notions and whatnot, it certainly gives the impression of a rather innovative fund structure you're coming up with. So give our listeners some insights into how you're structuring that. What are the difficulties there? Because we do know that space from a legal perspective is rather bumpy, let's say. So what are you setting up currently? Is it traditional VC fund kind of model? Are you going more like early investment DAOs where you just screw the SEC, we'll just invest, we don't care? Where are you landing on the legal landscape with your fund?
Okay, so let's start with the fund structure. We decided to go with a true DAO model where it's not a syndicate model. We don't provide the deals and ask people whether they're interested in investing in that company. We ask our investors to invest in the DAO, and we make the decisions, we make the investment decisions as the whole DAO. So when you make an investment, you get governance tokens, and that's how you vote and contribute in the governance. And we decided to go with the evergreen model, open-ended fund, because we don't want to restrict. This is our first fund. We don't know how much we're going to raise. We thought that this is a more kind of modern approach. And even I think Sequoia's new fund is also an evergreen model, open-ended fund. We decided to go with this model. And in terms of the legal side, we looked at a lot of different options. There's Cayman Islands, like that's a famous kind of path. We decided to go with a traditional US company, LLC. And there are a lot of rules regarding like accreditation and some other rules. But right now we're trying to stay in the gray area by only investing in token projects. Equity would have been a little tricky. And later on, as we get more investments, as we have more clarity in the legal landscape, we will explore different approaches. But I think right now the space is really new, and a lot of these legal related pieces are handled on a case by case basis, like at federal level, at state level. We're trying to make sure that we're like everything is legal. We're not doing anything illegal. But in the same time, we're also trying to stay on top with innovations and with new stuff. And governments are not necessarily following all these new things in the space. Yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
Totally, it does to me. So tell us about the liquid democracy governance model and how it works in practice. What might be some of the benefits of that approach over others?
So right now in the traditional VC landscape, if you want to be an LP, there's usually like a minimum check size of 10,000, 20,000, sometimes 50 and more. It's not really equitable from our perspective. So we wanted to make it more equitable and bring more people to the table that can provide hands-on support to our portfolio companies, and it brings different perspectives, right? So our goal is to have a lot of different LPs that can support our portfolio companies, and we don't want to make a big barrier. We're only going to have we're going to allow LPs with small check sizes of 1,000, 2,000. So we will have a lot of different people, different perspectives, different approaches. And we think that this is going to bring more quality to all these companies. And personally, I think that investment DAOs are the best use cases of the DAO structure because it gives more power to their investors, right? So yeah, I think we're going to see more investment companies like traditional VCs even transitioning into investment DAOs in the next few months, and we're in the next few years, and we're actually seeing that right now.
So are you guys off the ground yet? Have you guys funded anything so far? I guess you haven't necessarily raised all the capital yet, it sounds like. So where are you at in that process exactly?
We haven't started raising, but so far we have been talking to investors. We're going to invest in some projects together with some of the well-known other VCs and investment DAOs. We have been also connected with a lot of different projects. Through these events, we had an opportunity to meet a lot of talented people. So everything is ready. We're just figuring out some of the final pieces, and we're going to host our launch event in the next few months, and we will start with that launch party.
So is there a thesis, or like it's really just whatever the community brings up?
We have a thesis. Initially, we want to focus on creator economy and gaming projects because we see token projects in these fields mostly. And again, as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing in token projects initially just to make sure that we're not doing anything with the equity because it's going to bring more problems with the legal side. Yeah, we're going to be focusing on creator economy and gaming, and we're also interested in other projects as well. We're not specifically looking for these projects, but it's going to be on a kind of a case-by-case basis. If there's a really interesting project that we like, we can definitely consider.
Okay, so mostly gaming, creator economy stuff. And if someone brings like a new options protocol on DeFi or something like that, you're going to look at that too.
Absolutely. Anything within Web3 is fair game. Initially, our core focus will be on gaming and creator economy.
Nice.
I believe somewhere in your documentation I read about reputation systems, which you are implementing somewhere in the platform or in the tech you're building to manage this investment DAO, which is a huge passion of mine. I think DAOs as a whole will evolve massively the more they implement reputation systems and the more reputation systems as a whole kind of evolve. So I would love to get your thoughts on how you think about reputation systems, how you are going to implement them at ACE DAO, and how those are intended to encourage positive contributions from the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important point in Web3, like specifically reputation systems and incentivization systems. I think that's the way to bring more people and provide something back. We will have some committees, a startup committee where they will look at different deals, they will sponsor those deals and bring it to the whole community. There's another committee in terms of the governance. So we will be providing some incentive for people and for their contributions. But the whole structure is not really completed. We're also going to be doing some experiments down the road. But yeah, I personally think that it's a really important aspect, especially in DAOs, because that's how you're going to be able to keep all those people, retain all those people, and provide incentive for people to do stuff within the DAO. It's autonomous, so someone needs to do stuff. I really think that's an important concept in Web3, and we're trying to adapt different models and seeing which one works, which one doesn't. And I think that for every type of different DAOs, the structure is different. For investment DAO, there's different incentive models. For social DAOs, different incentive models. So it really depends on the project. So yeah, we will be testing out different models to see which one works the best.
Yeah, I can't wait to follow that. I wholeheartedly agree. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about that as well. Incentivization and reputation is a key piece to this, I believe, and we need to break beyond micromanaging members in DAOs through bounties. It's just, that certainly doesn't have any autonomy and isn't scalable, right? Simply. And we all know, if you've ever started anything, any company, much less a DAO, it's super exciting in the beginning, but then it's just a lot of work and someone needs to do that. And then once you start scaling, if you haven't thought about how do you bring in more people, which for a DAO, especially investment DAO, how you described, with small ticket sizes, you'll have hopefully a lot of people with a plethora of experiences, and you can't handhold them all, right? So building those systems, I'm glad you're working on it and can't wait to see what's happening. Staying with kind of systems and automation and smart contracts in Web3, how much are you building there to manage the fund? I think proposal submission, voting, funding the projects, right? Like just the natural steps of kind of an investment fund. How far along are you if you start it, and what's the plan there?
We are not doing all those like coding smart contracts ourselves because first of all, we would need to do audits and make sure that everything is secure. There's a lot of alternatives out there that we're exploring, so we're not doing those stuff ourselves. In terms of the governance, we really want to do on-chain governance, and there's a trend. A lot of the companies that we're working with, even, they're exploring options, like they're trying to transition into a more kind of on-chain governance, which executes everything automatically rather than be like having an admin or a founder doing all those executions. So I think that's the future in terms of the DAO governance. We explored some platforms like Syndicate, Tally, DAO Lens, Capita, and we are exploring which one would really solve the use cases that we want to solve, the problems that we want to solve. And yeah, we haven't finalized it, but again, we're looking for some flexibility in terms of creating that open-ended fund system while giving our LPs some sort of trust when they want to use this platform. They want to make sure that their money is secure. So we don't want to work with like some unknown companies. We want to make sure that all the smart contracts are audited, everything is safe. So yeah, we have been looking into some different options, but we haven't decided on the final product yet.
Let's say I'm a gaming project and I'm approaching your DAO. How does the DAO think about or execute on due diligence? And what are maybe some of the key criteria that you're looking to cover during the due diligence process? How exactly are you thinking about these investments?
Amazing question. So having LPs with low barriers, small check sizes is really useful because potentially we will have a lot of different people from gaming industry, from different industries. So we can ask them we can ask them to do the due diligence for us. the token economics, whether it would make sense, the overall like gaming aspect. We can also ask our experts. There's also a lot of investors in our network based in Toronto, based in US. So we are also interested in working with them, some co-investing opportunities, and they have been investing in a lot of different gaming projects, a lot of different projects. So they might have better experience, expertise than us. We can also utilize those connections, those network. And yeah, again, I think the best way to do this is through the people that we know, people that are in our community. And that's why we're trying to bring a lot of different people, a lot of different perspectives and knowledge to the table. So yeah.
I have a quick follow-up there, actually. This is a very murky area if you start rewarding those people for their work, for the due diligence they do, because certainly in the US, other jurisdictions might be slightly different, but we have something called the Investment Advisory Act, which kind of makes that quite difficult. Are you thinking about that more from a real advisor kind of model, or like those people who are helping going through due diligence are just doing that out of the goodness of their heart? Or are those the same people who are also LPs? Do they get a reward for that? Are there any thoughts you have explored there? Curious if you see any barriers, especially from the legal side.
Yeah, so those people will be our LPs in our community, not necessarily our LPs. If we know someone specific that is not part of our DAO, but if they're still interested in contributing in a more like a commission-based maybe advice, we would be interested. But initially, we will ask our own LPs if they have any experience in this specific field, or would they be willing to help us. And I think incentivization and reputation model plays a really important role there. We can reward those people based on their contributions, based on their advice. It won't be official investment advice. I don't think it would really be applicable like with the Investment Advice Act, but definitely it will provide a lot of insights for us to make the due diligence and make the decision for our community.
So it sounds like minimum, or maybe there isn't a minimum, but $1,000, 1,000 USDC, if you will, check sizes here. So are the LPs actually do they need to be accredited, or they do not? And I guess since you mentioned gray area earlier, we're swinging both ways. I think Sven and I in our head, we're not really sure on that.
Yeah, we don't make it a requirement. So it will be really depend on each individual. We will recommend people to be an accredited investor because that's what the law says technically, but we won't enforce it as a DAO. But everyone is taking their kind of individual risk in that sense. I think that this accreditation status, this whole model is not equitable at all. I understand where they are coming from. Like you might lose your money, like there's a big risk in this way, but a lot of people might be actually utilizing this investment model, being an angel investor, to make money, but they might not be necessarily an accredited investor. So I think there's a big barrier in that sense. There are some exemptions in the US that I'm aware of. But yeah, overall, we're trying to make that whole angel investment or investing as a whole group more equitable.
I totally agree with you. I think anybody should be able to invest in whatever. How do you become a good investor? You invest in things and you learn from investing. It's a process, and it takes a long time to actually become good at something. And if you can never invest in anything because you're never like accredited, like it's a chicken and egg. Like, how do you even become an accredited investor? You invest in stuff so you can make enough money to become an accredited investor. It's ridiculous. So 100% aligned with you there. Tell us about ACE funding pools. I think that's part of your model. How you'll use them, how they're structured, like why this model, those types of things.
So the pool is, again, we're not doing a syndicate model where we ask people to invest in projects that they're interested in. We ask them to invest in our pool. And that pool is controlled by like multiple signatories, and it's on chain. It's a multi-sig safe wallet. And when we want to invest in a company, we put in a proposal. We aim to make it on chain as well. So if everyone is voting yes, if people want to invest in that company, then that proposal, that smart contract will be executed automatically. So that's going to be really cool. Instead of someone executing a contract, since it's going to be on chain, it will be getting executed automatically. And yeah, so that's kind of the pool. It's going to be in USDC. And we will also be able to have like different kind of treasury, like Ethereum and other coins as well.
I'm going to coin a term right now. A DASPV. Because that's exactly what that sounds like. Essentially just a decentralized autonomous special purpose vehicle for an individual investment that the DAO is deciding to invest in. So, if I was a member of this DASPV and I put my tokens in, or I put my USDC in, let's say that the raise was in that, am I getting a token that is specifically representative of that specific pool?
So that's something that we are trying to figure out actually, but what we wanted to do is creating a seasonal structure so that for every 6 seasons, we're going to invest in certain projects, and your tokens will be a representation of those investments that we made during that 6 months. And then there's going to be another investment period. I don't want to call it an investment period, but it's more like a kind of a seasonal structure. So this is the model that we're considering right now, so that your governance token, it will have a value and it will be the representation of the investments that we are making during that season. I think this is a fair structure. It wouldn't be fair if we have this one fund and let's say we made multiple investments, and then you join after we made maybe 7 different investments, and your token, the value would be a representation of those previous investments. But if you're making this on a seasonal basis, it would make more sense for people to join from the beginning, and then the token value will be the representation of the investments during that season. So this is going to be the structure that we're considering right now.
Would you say a fair comparison to make would be a rolling fund structure, like you could set up through AngelList?
A rolling fund on a seasonal basis. But I still don't want to call it an investment period. It's just the seasons that you're investing in. And it's also a kind of an easy way to exit with, again, like there will be a lot of different details, but you can also give the governance tokens back after the season, and you can just exit with the coins, like with USDC, depending on all the agreements or token warrant agreements we make with the companies. Yeah.
Fascinating. I would love to ask, with the experience, you have been an entrepreneur for a long time. You have been in both traditional kind of startups, DAO startups. What would you give as an advice for maybe a startup? Let's use the gaming startup. Solve used as an example earlier. To get into the space, and then maybe even more importantly, how do you see ACE DAO being of support for these startups, and how do they get into the ecosystem?
One big advice would be, and this is relevant to DAOs, if you have an idea and if you want to start a DAO, my suggestion would be start as a startup, because as a startup, you want to make decisions fast as an early stage company. So DAO structure might not be too relevant. It really depends on the project that you're building, but I would say just focus on your business first, start as a startup, make the decisions fast, and start building your community. Once you're comfortable with all the things that's going on with your company, then you can transition into a DAO. I see DAOs as an opportunity to becoming IPO kind of. Like in Web3, you don't need to IPO, but you can actually become a DAO, and you can still, as a founder, you can get rewarded, your investors would get rewarded as well, and you would have the whole community supporting your company. I see that as a good opportunity in Web3 with these DAOs. And in terms of ACE DAO, the things that we're looking for is pretty standard things like the founding team, the community, and the utility of the token and the utility of the game you're providing. So, for creator economy, what's the utility for your token? Sometimes we're seeing projects and they launch their token, but there's no utility, there's no value. This might be controversial, but the token Pepe, just this morning I was talking to someone, they said that it's listed on Binance. And when you think about the technology, like the project, there's nothing. It's just a meme coin. So people are purchasing this coin, they're getting this, and it's a pump and dump kind of coin. And they lose a lot of money, and they're like, oh, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Web3 is not that good. I lost a lot of money. It's not that. Like, you're just trying to get rich quickly, but it's not how it works in Web3. So yeah,
it's not how it works anywhere, really.
Right. So don't launch a token just to say that you have a token. understand the utility behind it, understand the economics behind it. Yeah, so those are really important things that we're looking for when we look at a project.
So throw your futurist hat on. I love this question. What do you think we're going with DAOs? Like if you 10x where we are with DAOs, 100x even where we are with DAOs today, like where are we going with them over the next 20 years?
Good question. Right now, it's still too early. Like the definition of a DAO is not clear. There's a lot of companies out there, they're calling themselves a DAO, but they're not decentralized, they're not autonomous. So I think we need to create a standard, or at least agree on some of the very like foundational pieces. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest barriers right now. But in the future, I think DAOs will be really common. Not every project is suitable to become a DAO, but there's a lot of utility, there's a lot of good value out of these DAOs. It's providing more democratic approach to how companies are being managed. And we're always talking about companies specifically, but I really think that some other things outside of the company structure can be translated into a DAO, like even governments. I voted yesterday. There's elections in Turkey. I went to consulate in Toronto. I waited for almost 3 hours just to vote for elections. It's just insane. It doesn't make sense. Imagine having a structure where we use blockchain. You can trust blockchain, the blocks, and I can just vote with my phone. And imagine being able to vote for any other major decisions, not just electing people. Referendum is just one way, but instead of creating all those like ballots and everything, and you don't know whether I personally don't trust governments like in terms of the actual like ballot votes. There is a lot of value like in these kind of concepts as well. So yeah, I'm really bullish on DAOs personally, and I hope to see more use cases, especially in these kind of governmental issues. Yeah.
Let's just talk about like how people can get a hold of you, how people can find out more about ACE and look to become a member or even an LP. Where do they start?
Good question. It's the acedao.xyz. And people can also reach out to me on Telegram. My handle is Erturk Arda. I'm also available on LinkedIn, Twitter as well. Yeah, happy to answer if anyone has any questions. We'd love to connect if there's any interesting projects as well. Yeah.
Awesome. And we will include all of those links in the show notes just to make it easier for you listeners. So I want to extend the greatest thanks for coming on the show. I love what you're working on. So thanks again, Arda. I had a lot of fun, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Sven. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. See ya.
And that's a wrap. Sven and Solve are your hosts for DAO Deep Dives, a podcast about all things DAO. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time.